Resonance. When two frequencies meet, they don't just add up. They amplify. They hit harder, vibrate deeper. But if they're even a hair out of phase, they cancel each other out. Dead silence. Nothing left. Money in a relationship works the same way. You've got to be in sync, on the same wavelength, or it all falls flat. The apartment was pitch dark except for the blue glow from my laptop screen lighting our faces. Papers, Excel sheets, invoices for parts scattered across the tiny dining table. Cold coffee mixed with that fresh ink smell from the printer. Matt sat right up against me, shoulder to shoulder, fingers flying across the keys. He'd just gotten the payout from his CERN internship. Not a fortune, but enough to actually do something with if we played it smart. "I want to put this into the shop," he said. Voice steady but his eyes flicking with a little uncertainty. "Not a loan. Real investment. I want to be an official partner. Equity and all." I looked at him for a long beat. My heart thumped hard. Not from fear of more debt, but from what those words really meant. Not "my money's helping you out." It was "this is ours." I took his hand, feeling those slim, warm fingers lace with mine. "You sure? That CERN cash is your hard-earned reward. If the shop tanks, you lose it all." He shook his head, eyes lighting up. "I'm sure, because it's not just my money anymore. It's ours, part of the orbit we're building together. I believe in you, in your plan, and I want in for real, not watching from the sidelines." I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. We leaned back into the screen, tweaking the terms side by side. Matt typed fast, "Equity. Matt Lee 30%, Chris Harlan 70%. Equal voting on major decisions. Profits split by percentage. Losses shared." I added, "If one of us wants out, the other gets first right to buy at fair market value." We read it through start to finish. Up top, the header stood out clean, Momentum Auto. I let out a quiet laugh. It didn't sound like a startup name. It sounded like something already rolling. Mass, velocity, momentum. Hard to stop once it's moving. Sounds kinda like a marriage contract. "Ha!" Matt teased, voice light. I smirked. "Yeah, once you've got momentum, turning around isn't easy. To change direction, both of us have to push." We signed electronically. My finger hovered a second before hitting confirm. Nerves, sure, but the good kind. Excitement. The CERN funds hit instantly. Shop account balance jumped. Enough for that new hybrid diagnostic rig, another part-time mechanic, and the first payment to sell. Done. We just sat there a minute, shoulders touching, listening to the laptop fan hum. Matt leaned his head on my shoulder, fingers tracing lightly down my left arm, over the faint scar from the old injury. "You know," he murmured, "I used to think money was just a tool. Now I see it's more like thrust. When we push together, it's way stronger." I turned, pressed a soft kiss into his hair. Smell of clean soap and printer ink. "You're right. Money isn't gravity dragging us down. It's thrust if we're in phase." I pulled him closer. Our mouths met, slow at first, then deeper. My hand slid to his waist, feeling the warmth of him through his thin shirt. He kissed back harder, fingers threading into my hair, tugging me in. Our breathing synced up. We ended up on the floor, not even making it to the bed. Just a thin blanket over the cold hardwood. My hands roamed his back, rough fingertips against smooth skin. Between kisses, Matt whispered, "I want us to make it, not for the money. I want to see you proud of what we're building together." I kissed down his neck, feeling his pulse race under my lips. "I'm already proud. You're here. You trust me. You're willing to risk it with me." We moved together, slow and easy, like two waves finding the exact right rhythm to build instead of crash. No rush, no force, just natural sync. The vibration growing, stronger than anything alone. Next morning we woke tangled on the floor, sunlight slipping through the blinds onto the paperwork mess. Matt grinned, hair a wreck. "Momentum Auto is official. Time to get rolling." I pulled him in for one last kiss before we got up. "Yeah, let's roll. Together." The financial resonance equation was complete. Not just about money, it was trust, commitment, two guys ready to vibrate on the same frequency. And once we locked in phase, nothing could cancel that power out. An anchor, heavy, rough, plain, but it keeps the ship from drifting in open water. Tonight, I was Matt's anchor. Not with words, just by being there, solid and quiet. The MIT lecture hall was dark. Only spotlights on the podium and the panel of judges. Air cold. Smell of polished wood and someone's thermos coffee. Matt stood up there in a crisp white button-down. Hair neat but a few strands already rebelling from nerves. In front of him, 3 professors, thick glasses, open notebooks, slides packed with dense quantum entanglement equations. I sat front row, blending in with the other students. Just some guy in a gray hoodie, calloused hands, left shoulder still aching if I sat too long. Matt glanced down once. Our eyes met. I didn't smile, didn't clap. Just gave him one small nod. Message clear. I'm right here. You've got this. He started. Voice shaky at first, but it leveled out as he dove into his entanglement model. The algorithm tweaks to cut quantum noise. Slides flipped fast, equations everywhere. The panel fired questions, sharp, technical, cornering him. He answered, pausing sometimes to think, gripping the laser pointer tight. I saw his shoulders tremble a little. He looked down at me again. I didn't move, just held his gaze. Hands clenched on my knees, not from worry, but to beam him one thing. The ground's still under your feet. You're not floating. You're not falling. I'm here. Last question. The toughest. In the real world, environmental noise will wreck entanglement. How do you handle that beyond simulation? Matt paused, took a breath. Then he answered, not with pure theory, but with what we'd actually built together in the shop. Real noise can't be eliminated algorithmically completely. You need hands-on tuning, better grounding, damping mechanical vibration, even tactile feedback to dial it in. I tested it on a hybrid prototype with someone who's got real-world experience. Result: 47% noise reduction over pure sim. Silence from the panel. Then the chair nodded. Strong answer. Not just theoretical, practical application. Congratulations, Matt Lee. Outstanding defense. Scattered applause. Matt bowed, eyes glassy. When he stepped off the podium, I stood and waited at the end of the aisle. He barreled into me, arms tight around my neck in the middle of the crowd. Body shaking, hot breath against my skin. I did it. I fucking did it, Chris. I held him hard, hands firm on his back, feeling the damp sweat through his shirt. Soap and stress. I knew you would. I watched the whole thing. You weren't just theory, you had real-world proof. You had me. We walked out down the long hallway. Matt gripped my hand, fingers locked. When I was freaking out most, I looked down and saw you nod. Just that one nod. But it was enough. I knew the ground was still there. I wasn't alone out in space. I stopped in a quiet corner, pulled him close, kissed him deep, slow. Fingers in his hair, gentle tug. He kissed back, hands on my waist, pressing in. Thank you, he whispered between kisses, for being my anchor. We got home late. In bed, Matt curled against my chest, my fingers combing through his hair. Outstanding defense. PhD scholarships locked in. He smiled softly. But the best part isn't the grade. It's that you were there. You're my solid ground. I kissed his forehead. And you're my sky. Without you, I'm just a grease monkey stuck on the tarmac. With you, I can actually fly. That night we slept wrapped up, breathing in rhythm. Matt had presented his senior thesis. And me, I'd held him steady, quiet, and strong. My anchor job was done. A long-haul test isn't about sprinting once and winning. It's about enduring headwinds, breakdowns, wideouts, and the pitch-black middle of nowhere. It doesn't measure top speed. It measures whether you've got enough left in the tank to keep going when everything goes to hell. We took the hybrid prototype up the interstate toward Maine just as the snow started coming down hard in the late afternoon. Sky went dark early, flakes thick and relentless, headlights carving tunnels through the whiteout. The car hummed smooth, hybrid engine purring low, tires crunching steady over packed snow. Matt sat shotgun, tablet in his lap, eyes glued to real-time data. Battery temp, energy conversion efficiency, consumption rate. He gave a small smile. Everything's holding steady. Battery at 78% after 200 miles. Theory matches reality. I gripped the wheel tighter, left hand still numb from the cold seeping through the door. Don't celebrate yet. We're just getting started. The storm ramped up fast. Visibility dropped below 50 feet. The car started to shudder. Not violent, just a constant low-frequency vibration, like a piston hanging up. Then the check engine light blinked red. Matt frowned at the screen. Battery temp spiking weirdly. Could be snow packing the cooling system. Simulation said that shouldn't happen. The car jerked once, hard. Gas engine coughed, sputtered, died. We coasted to the shoulder and stopped dead in the dark. Snow piling on the roof. No streetlights. No passing cars. Just wind howling and flakes tapping the metal like tiny fingers. Matt panicked fast. Fuck. Battery's still at 65%. But the ECU isn't taking commands. His voice cracked higher, fingers shaking on the tablet. I calculated everything. I don't get it. I killed all the interior lights to save juice. Left only the dim hazard glow. Easy. I popped the door. Wind hit like a blade, freezing, stinging. Snow instantly crusted my hair, my jacket. I dropped to the ground, slid under the chassis on my back. Flashlight clenched in my teeth, beam cutting through swirling white. Hands numb, but I traced the wiring, felt the residual shake. Cooling fins on the battery pack iced over solid. Fan can't spin. ECU thinks it's overheating and cuts power. I yelled over the gale. With the small wrench I always carry, I tapped the housing, chipped ice away layer by layer. Sweat ran cold down my spine even in sub-zero. Left shoulder screamed from lying flat so long, but I gritted through it. Matt crawled under beside me. Snow dumped down his collar, face ghost pale. Let me help. He held the flashlight steady, other hand brushing snow off. We worked in silence, just wind screaming and metal clinking. 15 minutes later, fins clear, fan spinning again. I tightened the loose ground bolt that had vibrated free. Then we crawled out. Back inside, I turned the key. Engine caught smooth. Headlights sliced through the falling snow again. Matt sat quiet, hands still trembling, eyes red. I was really scared. My theory was useless out here in the middle of a blizzard. If you weren't here, we'd be stuck. I took his hand, mine ice cold but firm. Theory wasn't useless. It got us this far. But in a snowstorm at night, you need real-world shit, hands, patience, not giving up. You've got the brain. I've got the hands. Together, we make it through. Matt dropped his head, tears tracking down his cheeks. I'm scared of losing you someday. Scared I'll just be the theory guy, and you'll need real fixes, and I won't be able to keep up. I pulled over to a safe shoulder, killed the engine, dragged him into my arms. Held him tight, felt his body shake against my chest. You're never losing me. I need you not just to fix cars, but to know why we fix them. To know where we're headed. You're the brain. I'm the hands. Without you, I'm just a blind mechanic swinging wrenches. He looked up, kissed me, salty from tears. My arms locked around his waist, warmth slowly spreading between us in the freezing cab. We stayed like that, wrapped up, breathing together while the storm raged outside the windows. No big speeches, just synced breaths, hearts beating the same rhythm. Engine back on. We kept rolling down the long haul. Snow still fell, but it didn't feel so terrifying anymore. The long-haul test isn't about winning. It's about proving that even when shit breaks, even in the dark and the cold, we keep going. Together. 2 bachelor's degrees. 1 in mechanical engineering. 1 in physics, sat side by side on the old wooden workbench in the shop. Not on some fancy stage under spotlights, not with family flashing cameras. Just here. Surrounded by motor oil, the low hum of the exhaust fan, cold white neon. This was our real graduation. Mine came first at the Tech Institute. Wide open quad. Brutal June sun. Applause rolling from the bleachers. Black gown, square cap, walking across to shake hands. No parents. No family. Just a couple buddies from the shop and Matt in the middle rows. Black hoodie. Eyes lighting up when they called my name. Christopher Harlan, Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. I took the diploma, hand shaking, not from the paper, but from everything it took to get here. From washed-up quarterback to owning my own garage. Matt clapped the loudest. When I came down, he was waiting at the gate, threw his arms around me in the crowd. "You did it," he whispered, voice thick. I kissed the top of his head. "Not done yet. Your turn." His was 3 days later, big MIT auditorium. More formal. Deep red gowns, polite clapping, professors standing to congratulate. Matt walked the stage, cap a little crooked from his messy hair, but eyes blazing. Matthew Lee, Bachelor of Science in Physics. When his name rang out, I was front row, hands stinging from clapping so hard. He looked down at me and smiled. That small, private smile just for me. Afterward, we didn't hit any parties. We drove straight back to the shop where it all started. Late afternoon sun, slanting through the corrugated roof. Dust floating gold in the air. We stood in the middle of the bay, diplomas on the workbench next to my red tool chest and the laptop still open to the shop schedule. Matt picked up his cap, handed it to me. "Trade." I grinned, grabbed mine off the tool rack, passed it over. We swapped, engineering cap on his head, physics cap on mine. He laughed out loud. "You look ridiculous in a physics cap." I pulled him close, hands on his waist. "You're the brain. I'm the hands. Together we're a complete machine." We stood there in the quiet shop. No flowers, no confetti, no family cheering. Just wind whistling through the roll-up door and our hearts beating in time. Matt leaned his head on my shoulder. "I never thought I'd graduate here with you. Not on some big stage. Just in a place that smells like oil and metal." I ran my fingers through his hair, rough calluses against soft strands. "Because this is where we actually built something. The paper's just proof. The shop, the garage, this life, it's ours." He tilted his head up, kissed me slow, deep, a faint salt of the day's sweat, coffee from the cup he'd nursed before the ceremony. My hands tightened on his waist, pulling him flush. We stood under the neon, caps crooked, wrapped around each other. No need for words, just breathing together, hands locked. That night we crashed on the old couch in the corner, the one Sal always naps on. Matt curled against my chest. "From now on we're an engineer and a physicist. But I still like Momentum Auto best." I chuckled, kissed his forehead. "Yeah, Momentum Auto. Not just the name on the sign, it's what we're making. Together. Permanent orbit isn't a perfect circle that never wobbles. It's the stable state, where gravity and momentum balance exactly, so two bodies keep circling each other forever without crashing or flying apart. We'd reached that, not because everything was flawless, but because we'd learned how to stay balanced. Up on the roof of Momentum Auto tonight, the new neon glowed bright white-blue, washing over the tin roof, turning old oil stains into artificial stars. Boston wind came cold off the Charles, carrying salt and wet asphalt. We stood at the iron railing, shoulders touching, looking down at the city lights scattered like broken glass. Boston wasn't strange anymore. It was home. Shop was closed below, but the last engine note of the day still echoed in my head. The smooth purr of that hybrid we just finished for a customer. My hands still smelled faintly of grease and rubber. Matt leaned into me, black hoodie, wind-tousled hair, hands in his pockets. His slim shoulder pressed warm against mine. "Look," he said softly, nodding toward the horizon where city glow bled into black sky. "Boston keeps running. Chaotic, noisy, full of interference. But us, we're stable now." I nodded, arms sliding around his waist, pulling him closer. Felt his body settle against me, warm breath on my neck. Yeah, no more old inertia dragging me back to Lincoln. No more MIT pressure crushing you. Just us. Two guys, one shop, one garage, one shared orbit. Matt turned, eyes catching the neon glow. "I used to think permanent orbit was pure theory, Perfect gravitational balance, no phase drift. Now I see it's way more real. It's you holding me in a blizzard when the car dies. It's me debugging code next to you at 3 a.m. It's signing equity papers, trading graduation caps, and still standing here. Together. I gave a quiet laugh, voice rough from the cold. I was scared of losing you. Scared you'd fly too high. Scared I'd just be the grease monkey stuck on the ground. But now I know. The higher you go, the more I want to chase. And if you ever get tired, I'll be the ground you land on. He rested his head on my shoulder, fingers threading through mine, slim against rough, calloused. And you're the thrust that keeps me from falling. I'm not afraid anymore, not of failing, not of choosing wrong. Because no matter what, I've got you. We stood there a long time, wind tugging at our hair, carrying distant traffic and the soft lap of the Charles. No need to talk much. Just synced breathing, locked hands, city lights twinkling below like man-made stars. I turned, kissed him slow, deep, hand on his waist, pulling him in tight. He kissed back, fingers in my hair, tugging closer. The kiss stretched out, unhurried, like two orbits finally locked in perfect phase, circling forever. When we broke apart, he whispered, "I love you, Chris." I pressed my lips to his forehead, voice low and rough. "Love you too, Matt." We stayed a while longer, looking out over Boston, still chaotic, still full of noise, but not scary anymore. Momentum Auto glowed below us. Not the biggest shop, not the richest, but ours, where we fixed cars, fixed code, fixed old wounds. Permanent orbit isn't zero deviation. It's when deviation happens, we adjust, we correct, we keep each other in the shared spin. Not perfect, but stable. Not immortal, but strong enough to last. Matt leaned fully into me, head on my shoulder. Back to work tomorrow? I smiled. Tomorrow. Together. Wind swept across the roof. Neon stayed lit. We stood there. Two grown men, hand in hand, looking toward Boston's horizon. The orbit was steady, and we'd keep circling each other. Forever.